Okay, guys, today we are going to discuss another infectious disease, that is ringworm infection. This ringworm infection, the name ringworm infection, it is misleading. It is a misnomer. It is a misnomer. Actually, it is not a worm infection. This ringworm infection, it is caused by fungi belonging to belonging to genera microsporum, microsporum, trichophyton, and epidermophyton. Epidermophyton. Mostly the causative agent for this ringworm infection are these two genera. The mostly this infection is caused by these two genera of fungi, microsporum and trichophyton. So microsporum and trichophyton genera of fungi, they are mostly causative agents of this ringworm infection. Sometimes this ringworm infection may be also caused by another genera of this fungus known as epidermophyton, right? So the ringworm name is misleading. It is a misnomer. It is not a worm. It is not a disease which is caused by any worm. Worms we mostly say to be helminth parasites. So it is not a helminth parasite infection, right? It is a fungal infection caused by these two genera, microsporum and trichophyton. Sometimes epidermophyton also cause the infection, right? So this is the causative agent of this ringworm infection. How does it spread? Mode of infection. Mode of infection. How does this infection? How does this infection spread from one person to another person? This infection is contagious. It is a contagious disease. That means it is spread from an infected person to a normal person by physical contact. By physical contact. Physical contact. That is through touch. Touch of skin. So if we make a physical contact, if we touch the skin of an infected person, we are likely to get the infection, right? So it is a contagious disease. It is a highly contagious disease. Those affected areas of the skin where this ringworm infection is developing, right? If a normal person touches those affected areas, he is likely to get the infection. So it is contagious. This disease is also soil-borne. Soil-borne. The spores of the fungi, they are present in the soil. If a person comes in contact with those spores of the fungi in soil, then he is likely to develop the infection. Or it may be fomite-borne. 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 So sharing of personal items, personal items like pens, combs, hankies, clothes, socks, shoes, gloves, right? If we share these items, then we are also likely to get this infection because this fungus, it mostly is present on the infected person's personal items. For example, this is the pen. If God forbid my hand is infected with this infection, when I am touching this pen, right? So the infection, the spores may be present on this pen as well. Anything which I use in my daily life, they may get infected, right? So a person who is infected, his all personal items should not be touched. They should not be used by any other person. Otherwise, they are likely to get the infection. So mode of infection is contagious. It spreads from one person to another person through physical touch. physical contact of the skin. It is soil borne. The spores of the fungi, they are present in the soil. If the person is working with the soil, he comes in contact with those spores of the fungi, then he is likely to get infected. Fomite borne by sharing personal belongings like pens, like hankies, like clothes, like towels, like socks, like shoes, like clothes, right? So if we share these items, it is likely to spread from an infected person to another person. Mostly sports person, they share their personal belongings. I have myself seen during playing cricket, when we go for batting, we use the gloves. We do not have personal gloves. We have a pair or a two of gloves in the whole team. A team has just a pair of two, three gloves, and they are used by all playing 11, right? So sharing of these gloves between sports person, between these cricket players, it may spread the infection. Similarly, we share the pads that may spread the infection. Football players, they share their stocking, they share their shoes that may spread the infection, or even they share the uniform. Or other cricket players, they also share the uniform. So this sharing of sports items, this is also likely to cause the infection. And a person may get the infection from bald spots. Bald spots of his pets. We have usually got pet animals at home. If those pet animals have any bald spots, and if we touch those bald spots, then we are likely to get infected because those bald spots on the skin of pets, they are caused by this ringworm infection. So pets like cats, dogs, cattle, or even sheep, if they have any bald spots, their bald spots should not be touched because these bald spots in these animals, they are caused by ringworm infection, right? So it is highly contagious. It spreads from one person to another person by physical contact. So we should avoid touching those persons who are already suffering. We should avoid using their personal belongings. Or if our pets have bald spots, we should not touch their bald spots, right? Because it is likely to transmit the infection. So that is the mode of infection. So it is a contagious disease. Now this ringworm infection, it affects different body parts. It may infect our different body parts. And it has been classified according to the body part. It has been named according to the body part involved. In scientific literature, it is mostly written as tinea. Tinea. This word tinea, it means a ringworm. There is another similar word that is tinea. It is a helminth parasite. It is a helminth parasite. It is endoparasite. Tinea solium. Tinea saginatum. This is an endoparasite. It resides in our alimentary canal. This is a helminth parasite. This word tinea, it refers to the ringworm, right? So according to the body part involved, this ringworm infection, it has been classified into different types. For example, there is tinea barbi. This tinea barbi, it is the ringworm which causes the infection of facial hair. Facial hair. It mostly spreads from one person to another person at the barber shop because those barbers, they use the same brush, even they use the same blade. So sharing of brush between persons, sharing of blades between persons, that is likely to spread this infection. Tinea barbi. It affects facial hair. Then there is another that is known as tinea capitis. It affects skull. It affects skull, skin of head, right? Again, it spreads mostly from the barber shop. So when we visit barber shop, we pick up the comb and start combing our hair, right? Without thinking about this comb might have been used by so many other persons, right? So making your hair at barber shop by the barber's comb is likely to spread the tinea capitis. It will infect the skin of your head. It will infect your scalp. So tinea capitis, they are mostly spread from one person to another person at barber shop by sharing of these items, right? Then there is another that is known as tinea corporis. Tinea corporis. It affects arms, legs, and trunk of the body. So this infection, it is mostly present at the trunk of the body and arms and legs. So this is known as tinea corporis. It mostly affects the body by shearing up personal belongings like towels, hankies, clothes, right? It may cause the spread of this. Then there is another type that is known as tinea cruris. It is known as it affects the groin and it is known as jock itch. Jock itch. It affects the groin and it is known as jock itch. It also makes a person miserable when the itching starts, right? Then there is another that is known as tinea fasciae. It affects the face, the area of face which is not having beard on it, the exposed skin of the face which is not having beard on it, that may be affected by this tinea fasciae. Again, it may be contacted at the barber shop. After making the shave, barber wipes, spread some water on your face, then wipes your face with his towel. And he uses the same towel for hundreds of people. So if one is infected, others are likely to get infected, right? Tinea fasciae. It affects on those parts of the face. It develops on those parts of the face which are without beard. Then there is another that is known as tinea manum. Tinea manum. It affects hands and palms. Hands and palms. So it develops on the hands and palms. Then there is another that is known as tinea pedis. It causes athlete's foot. Athlete's foot. So it affects our feet. It affects our feet. Then there is another that is known as tinea 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That is known as tinea unguium. Unguium. It affects the nails, finger and toenails. Finger and toenails. And toenails. It causes a disorder that is known as onychomycosis. Onychomycosis. It causes a disorder known as onychomycosis. So, in this condition, the nails thicken. Nails, they thicken, they discolor. The color of nails is changed. they then fall off, they crumble. The nails crumble. That means they fall off. They break and fall off. So this fungal infection, which affects the nails, in which the nails they become thick, they get discolored, and then they start breaking off. That condition is known as onychomycosis, and it is caused because of this ringworm infection, Tinea unguium, right? So we classify this ringworm infection. We classify this ringworm infection into these 8 types. Tinea barbi, affecting the facial hair where we have got beard. Tinea capitis, affecting our skull. Tinea corporis, it develops on arms, legs, and trunk. Tinea cruris, it develops in the groin. It is known as jaw cage. Tinea fasciae, it develops on that part of the face where the beard is not present, right? Where we don't have hair, facial hair. Tinea manum, it develops on hands and feet, hands and palms, sorry. Tinea pedis, it is known as Asilito's foot. It develops on the feet. It is mostly caused by sharing of socks and shoes, right? Or walking barefoot, Because when a person is walking barefooted on the soil, the fungus may be present in the soil and it may affect the feet, right? So it is known as athlete's foot. So it is caused by walking barefooted, or it is caused by sharing those socks and shoes. Tinea unguium, it affects the finger and toenails. So the nails, they thicken, they discolor, and they crumble, they fall off. This condition is known as onychomycosis, right? So this is the classification of this ringworm infection according to the body part involved, right? So we generally call in scientific literature it as tinea. So this word tinea, 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 it means a ringworm. It means the ringworm infection. So we classify it into following types. Now, what are its general symptoms? When it develops, which symptoms are generally produced? The places where we get this ringworm infection is characterized by certain features. What are the characteristic features of this ringworm infection? We will discuss them. Symptoms. So those parts of the body which are infected by this fungus, those parts of the body they become red. Those parts of the body they become itchy. The affected body part becomes red. It becomes itchy. It may become scaly. The skin may be torn off in the form of loose scales, right? Or the plaques may form. Plaques may develop. The skin may fall off in the form of plaques, right? So wherever this infection is developed, wherever this ringworm infects the body, first of all, it causes the redness of that part of the skin. Then the skin becomes itchy. We start feeling irritation. We start scratching over that part of the skin. Then lose dead cells from the skin. They fall off. So skin becomes scaly. Or sometimes the skin may fall off in the form of plaques. Large chunks of the skin, they may fall in the form of plaques. Sometimes this infection, it develops in the form of enlarging, razor rings, So the skin becomes red in the middle. The skin becomes red in the middle. It becomes itchy. And then enlarged razor ring is produced around this itchy part of this. This is enlarging razor ring. This is the characteristic feature. So enlarged raised rings may be formed on the skin. So this is the characteristic feature of this ringworm infection. When it affects the trunk, when it affects the hands and arms and legs. So when this ringworm infection develops on trunk of the body or it develops on arms and legs, at that time enlarged raised rings, enlarging raised rings may be found and small blisters, small pustules may appear within this ring or around this ring. Small pustules, small blisters or small pustules, blisters or pustules, they may appear within the ring or outside the ring, right? So it is so itchy that a person doesn't resist scratching it. So when we are scratching it, we are getting fungus on our fingers. Then if we scratch any other part of the body, the infection may spread to that part also, right? So these enlarging raised red rings, they are another characteristic feature of this infection. Normally the infection develops on a patch of skin, which becomes red, which becomes itchy, and then it becomes scaly. The loose skin cells they start falling off, or plaques, large chunks of skin, dead skin cells, they start falling off, right? So these are the symptoms of this ringworm infection. Now, what is the prophylaxis? How we can save ourselves from getting this ringworm infection? Prophylaxis. So if we avoid all those things which are involved in its transmission, from a suffering person to a normal person, then we may protect ourselves from getting this infection. So first of all, when you are working with the soil, you are in your kitchen garden, you are in your agricultural field, prophylaxis. So when a person is in contact with the soil, just after working in the soil, the person should wash off his hands with a soap or with antifungal soap. If there have been any incidents of ringworm infection in that area before making contact with the soil, right? If a person is working in his hand and the ringworm infection is very much prevalent in that area, then he is likely that it is likely that spores of the fungus may be present in that soil, right? So a person after working in his agricultural field or his kitchen garden or when he is in contact with the soil, after that he should wash his hands properly with soap or with antifungal soap, right? So washing hands properly with soap after doing agricultural work, right? A person should avoiding sharing of personal belongings. So we should not share our personal belongings with each other. Neither we should use anybody's towel, nor we should allow anybody to use our towel, right? So our all personal belongings, they should not be shared, right? Avoiding contact with those pets who have bald spots, who have bald spots on the skin. So if you have any pets at home and any one of those pets has a bald spot on its skin, don't touch that pet. So avoiding contact with pets who have bald spots on their skin. So those bald spots on their skin, they are the areas of the skin which have been infected by ringworm, right? So washing hands properly after making some agricultural work or in contact with soil, avoiding sharing of personal belongings, avoiding contact with those pets who have bald spots, avoiding contact with, avoiding contact with already suffering persons, suffering person. If anyone is having this ringworm infection, you should not make handshake with him. You should not touch his body. You should not touch his clothes, right? So avoiding contact with already suffering persons will protect us from getting this infection. So this infection mostly is present in soil. So whenever we come in contact with the soil, wash hands properly. It is present in pets, particularly those pets who have bald spots. So whenever you touch your pets, first of all, if a pet is having bald spot, then don't touch it. Then don't touch him, right? Now, if you don't know whether the pet had any bald spot or not, then after making contact with the pets, you should wash your hands properly with any antifungal soap. Avoiding sharing of personal belongings. Never share your personal belongings with any other person, right? Avoiding contact with already suffering persons. So those persons who are already suffering from this ringworm infection, you should not make contact with them. You should not use any of their personal article, right? You should not use any of their personal items because might be infected, right? So that is the prophylaxis. Now, is any treatment available for this ringworm infection? This ringworm infection, it is curable. It is curable. For curing this ringworm infection, we have to use some antifungal creams, antifungal lotions, or antifungal tablets. So a person who is suffering from any such symptom should immediately rush to the doctor, should rush to a skin specialist. The skin specialist will evaluate his condition. He will first confirm whether this is ringworm infection or not. If he finds the person is suffering from ringworm infection, then he will prescribe him antifungal. There are antifungal soaps. There are antifungal topical creams or lotions. Or sometimes the doctor may prescribe antifungal tablets. So doctor will evaluate the condition, and according to the condition of patient, a doctor may prescribe any antifungal medication, whether it may be in the form of cream, it may be in the form of lotion, it may be in the form of soap, or it may be in the form of tablet, right? So self medication is always dangerous. So never use these antifungal creams or antifungal lotions or antifungal tablets by your own, right? So one should go to the doctor and doctor will evaluate the condition. So that is all about the ringworm infection. Now after ringworm infection, we are going to discuss another disease which is not generally infectious but is very dangerous. Now we are going to discuss another disease. This disease is not infectious, but it is the most dangerous disease. So we are going to discuss about cancer. So first of all, we will discuss what is cancer. How we will define a cancer. Cancer is any uncontrolled cell division and growth in any body tissue leading to formation of a tumor except leukemia. In leukemia, there is no tumor formation except in leukemia. So, is any uncontrolled cell division and growth in any body tissue leading to formation of a tumor and inducing angiogenesis. Angiogenesis means formation of blood vessels. Formation of blood vessels in it and shows metastasis. So this condition is known as a cancer. So cancer is any uncontrolled cell division and growth. Any uncontrolled cell division and growth in any body tissue. Any tissue of the body may get involved. So in any body tissue where there is uncontrolled cell division and cell growth, leading to formation of a tumor. When the cells divide continuously and they grow, they enlarge in size, they form a tumor. Except in leukemia. In leukemia and blood cancer, there is no tumor formation. And inducing angiogenesis. So when a tumor is formed, then in that tumor, blood vessels are formed. Blood vessels are developed. So this type of growth is known as cancerous growth, and it has got a specific property. It shows metastasis. That means these cancer cells, they detach from tumor, and spread to other body parts, through blood or lymph. So they may induce cancerous growth in any other tissue. So this property of cancer cell to detach from the tumor, then migrate to other body parts through blood or lymph, and induce a new chain of cancerous growth there. This property of cancer is known as metastasis, right? So this is the definition of a cancer. So cancer is any uncontrolled cell division and cell growth in any body tissue leading to formation of a tumor, and inducing angiogenesis and inducing formation of blood vessels in that tumor, and then it shows metastasis. Then the cells, they get detach from this cancerous tumor, and these cells then enter blood circulation or lymphatic circulation, and then they spread, they migrate to other parts of the body where they start a new chain of cancerous growth, right? So this is the definition of a cancer, right? So this cancer, it shows some characteristic features. First of all, there is uncontrolled cell division and cell growth. So when the number of cells is increasing and the mass of cells is increasing, they accumulate at one place and they form a tumor. They form a tumor. Except in blood cancer. In blood cancer, the tumor is not formed because blood is a fluid connective tissue where the cells are already loose apart. So they induce tumor. And then in that tumor, formation of new blood vessels is initiated. So most of the blood supply, most of the nutrients of our body, they are directed towards that tumor. And as these cells grow, they are continuously dividing, they are continuously growing. Then these cells, they detach from the tumor and then they are released in the blood circulation or lymphatic circulation. Then blood circulation and lymphatic circulation takes these cells to other parts of the body where these cells induce a new chain of cancerous growth. So this is the definition of cancer. Now, as I told you, a tumor is formed in this cancer. There is formation of tumor. Usually tumors are of two types. One is known as malignant tumor. Another is known as benign tumor. So what is the difference in malignant tumor and benign tumor? Both the tumors are produced by uncontrolled cell division and cell growth, right? So when cells divide rapidly, their number increases, they grow in size, their mass increases, so leading to formation of tumor. But in malignant tumor, there is angiogenesis. Blood vessels are formed in malignant tumor. There is angiogenesis. New blood vessels develop in this tumor, and this malignant tumor is rich in blood supply. And in this malignant tumor, then the cells show metastasis. Then cells detach, they enter back into blood circulation and migrate to other parts of the body where they may induce new cancers. But in benign tumor, there is no angiogenesis. In benign tumor, there is no subsequent angiogenesis. In benign tumors, new blood vessels are not formed. And in these benign tumors, there is no metastasis. There is no metastasis. Cells do not break up, they do not fall up, and they do not migrate to other parts of the body. So most of the warts which we develop on our skin, develop upon our skin. Warts, इनको हम उर्दू में, इनको कश्मीरी में हम सस बोलते हैं. So most of the warts which are present on our skin, they are benign tumors. They are first produced by uncontrolled cell division and growth. But later on, angiogenesis does not occur in them and they do not show metastasis, right? But what is in malignant tumor? In malignant tumor, uncontrolled cell division and growth, followed by formation of blood vessels. So they are continuously being supplied nutrients. And because of these continuous supply of nutrients and oxygen, these cells keep on dividing, they keep on growing, right? And finally, these cells, they mostly are not tightly adhere to each other. These malignant tumor cells, they are loosely attached to each other. Some of these cells, they detach from the tumor, they enter into blood circulation and lymphatic circulation. Then they may go to other body organ where they may immediately produce a new tumor or they may remain quiescent for some time. What happens in cancer therapy when this anti-cancerous drugs are administered to a person? All the active cancer cells may be killed, all the active cancer cells may be killed. But those cancer cells which remain in quiescent phase, those cancer cells which remain in quiescent phase, they escape those anti-cancerous drugs. They escape that anti-cancerous therapy. So later on, they may again become active and they may induce new cancers. So it is better to make the diagnosis of cancer in the early stages. If anyone is having any symptoms which may indicate presence of a cancer, he should immediately rush to the doctor. Because if the cancer is present in early stage, it can be removed by surgery. Before metastasis, a cancer can be completely cured by surgery. But once the metastasis occurs, then these cancer cells they separate to other parts of the body, where they may immediately become active or they may remain in quiescent phase. So even if a patient is given anti-cancerous therapy, that therapy kills the active cancer cells. But these quiescent cells they escape the effects of that therapy. And after some time, suddenly the person again develops cancer. Why? Because those quiescent cells they become active and develop new cancers. So this metastasis, it is the main problem in the cancer. So if a cancer is diagnosed before metastasis, it can be surgically removed. The person may get cured completely. But once the metastasis has occurred, the cells have spread, then it is very difficult to control all those parts, all those cancerous growths, right? So that is about the tumor. So there are two types of tumors. Malignant tumors, they are associated with cancer. We call them as cancer tumors. Malignant means anything which is very harmful, which has got a serious consequence, right? So malignant tumors, they are harmful tumors. They produce serious consequences because it is these malignant tumors which release the cancer cells. And those cancer cells migrate to other parts of the body to induce a new chain of cancerous growth, right? Benign tumors are those tumors. Benign means non-harmful. Benign means non-harmful or non-invasive, right? So these benign tumors are those tumors which are usually not harmful. They may cause some problem at the place where they are, but they do not spread. They do not show metastasis, right? So they may be locally causing some damage. They may be locally causing some harm, but they do not affect the function of whole body, right? So benign tumors are usually considered as non-harmful tumors. They don't show angiogenesis, they don't show metastasis. Malignant tumors are those tumors which are considered very harmful because they show metastasis and they release the cancer cells, which may migrate to other body organs where they may remain quiescent or develop new chain of cancers, right? Now, after this, we are going to discuss about what is sarcoma and what is carcinoma. So, what is a sarcoma and what is a carcinoma? First, we talked about leukemia. Sorry. First, we talked about leukemia. Leukemia means blood cancer. Which blood cells are involved in uncontrolled growth and division in blood cancer? It is white blood cells. WBCs. They show uncontrolled production. WBCs they are produced in very large quantities, and then these WBCs they start damaging RBCs. They start destroying RBCs. They start destroying platelets. They start destroying platelets, right? So in leukemia blood cancer, it is WBCs which are produced in abnormally high numbers. Then these WBCs they start destroying RBCs and platelets, causing the blood cancer, right? Then I was telling you about sarcoma and carcinoma. So what is a carcinoma? Carcinoma is a cancer. It's a cancer of ectodermal or endodermal origin. You know, during our development, we have three germ layers: endoderm, mesoderm, and ectoderm. So carcinomas are those cancers which affect the body parts which are formed from ectoderm or endoderm. So all those body parts which are formed from ectoderm or endoderm, if they develop any cancers, those cancers are known as carcinomas. Then there is another cancer type that is known as sarcoma. Sarcoma is a cancer. It is a cancer of mesenchymal origin. Mesenchymal origin. So mesenchyme refers to connective tissue. Connective tissue, it develops from the mesoderm. So any cancer which affects our connective tissue, which develops in our connective tissue, that connective tissue cancer is known as sarcoma, right? So there are two terms: leukemia, blood cancer. Although blood is a fluid connective tissue, but when this fluid connective tissue develops a cancer, that is known as leukemia. Carcinoma is a cancer of ectodermal or endodermal origin. So any body organ which is formed from ectoderm and endoderm, if that develops a cancer, that is known as carcinoma. Sarcoma is a cancer of mesenchymal origin. That means connective tissue. When a cancer develops in any connective tissue, that is known as sarcoma, right? That is all about the different types of these tumors and different types of cancers, right? And definition of cancer. Now we are going to discuss about what are the causes of cancer, how cancers may be caused. I think this is sufficient for today. We will discuss that in next lecture. Thank you.